Hey y'all. Hey. Okay, guys, I am back. And I am once again here to trigger people. I don't know. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, it's just, I've been having so many thoughts that have just been consuming my brain lately that I'm like, I need to tell the world this. And it's hard because I know most of y'all would hear this and be like, this is bullshit, like you're just making that up, like you don't know what you're talking about, yada yada yada. But when I tell you I've thought extensively about this theory, it's like I'm willing to go to war about this theory. I'm willing to become the next Sigmund Freud so that y'all are like, oh, Nick knows what he's talking about, because I just feel like it's true. And if you want to argue with me, argue with yourself, because it's really just you being mad that like I'm right. But let me get into it, and then y'all can let me know what you think, because I know people are gonna be like, oh, blah 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 blah. So let's just get it started, shall we? Today's video is about the fact that heterosexuality is in fact a choice. I can already hear you guys now like, no it's not, I've liked boys since I was 3, blah 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 blah. No, I've always liked women my whole life, blah blah blah. It's a choice, y'all. It's a like forced heterosexuality, I mean, in the sense of like you consistently only ever like date or are attracted to the opposite gender or like sex or whatever. Like, it's a social construct, and I'm going to explain to you why. I'm going to try to explain different concepts so you guys can understand where I'm coming from before you just jump to conclusions and just come at my head. But realistically, if you think about it, in this westernized society, right, that like most of us are born in or our countries are under the influence of, you know, forced because of colonization, all that good stuff, yada yada yada, keeping all those in mind. As soon as you were born, right, the doctor hands your parents this baby, and because of your genitalia, they're like, this is a boy, or congratulations, you have a girl. And from there, they have planned out the rest of your life, how it's going to go, and what you're going to do, who you're going to marry, what clothes you're going to wear, what activities you're going to like, even down to like the color that like you then develop a preference for. Some people in these scenarios, i.e., you know, me, who's an obvious trans person, whatever, or like other queer folks or whatever, are put in this, you know, this box and are like, oh, this box doesn't feel good, and like make the shift to go out of the box and like then do whatever they wish to do, whatever, in that way. However, I feel like majority of people in society aren't uncomfortable enough in the box that they notice that it doesn't really fit them well. So they kind of just stay in that stereotype, or in that like frame, let's call it, that's been like built for them before they were even like present on this earth. So if we want to go back to like psychological concepts that are like, you know, more proven theories or whatever that we want to talk about, and you think about like the type of conditioning that like your brain goes through from the point of like birth to adulthood, you most likely conditioned or were conditioned to believe you have an attraction to the opposite gender, and that's it. And by this I mean, you know, you were, say, born a little baby boy. Oh, they put their little blue hat on, they take your pictures in your blue swaddled blanket. Oh, blah 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 blah. Then it's like by the time you're like 1, you're probably wearing onesies that are like, oh, like, watch out ladies, future lady killer, you know, just like shit like that. Or like, I don't know, you're a baby girl and born, yada yada, and then it's like, oh, daddy's the only man in my life. Like, you know, just these forced ideals from young that you start as you're like developing. You're consciously taking in all of this information. Even though you're just a baby, your brain is taking in everything around you, from like the interactions you see with the people in your life to the media they put in front of you. And it could be something as simple as you're watching, I don't know, Dora, which I don't even think kids watch Dora anymore, I don't know, whatever, but you're watching Dora and you see she has two parents, one that seems like a man, one that seems like a woman. Okay. And it's like these things become constantly ingrained in your psyche from young. So then it develops into, oh, like, I like princess stuff if you're a little girl or whatever, right? Oh, I like princess stuff. I like, pink. I like purple. I like fairies. And I like, being a magical princess in this castle and yada, yada, yada. Or the opposite spectrum is like little boys with the conditioning of like, oh, I like monster trucks. I like, Hot Wheels. I like, superheroes and baseball and basketball and football and all of these things, right? So then you're developing more parts of your personality that are just more parts of the social conditioning of like what you're around. And then you continue to grow up, you go to school. Then it's like you're interacting with children your age, but there are like subtle things here and there that like you pick up on because you're a child, you're a sponge, you're taking in all of this stimuli and you're like calculating it and then like organizing it in your brain. So it's like you're interacting with the boys and it's like, oh, like we roughhouse with each other, or we're allowed to play with these types of toys and the teacher doesn't say anything. But if I pick up like a doll or something, the teacher's like, oh, you shouldn't play with that, that's for girls or whatever, like more social conditioning. Or like there's like a little girl in the class that you're friends with and you're a little boy and it's like, oh yeah, he has a little girlfriend. Oh my god, that's so cute, they're gonna get married one day, I swear. When it's literally all you're just doing is just like playing with another child, right? So then the social conditioning continues in your head. It's like, oh, I don't think obviously children are like, I'm gonna get married to like, but sometimes they do say shit like that. So that just shows that they're consciously taking in all of this stimuli around them. People in their lives are telling them like, oh, one day you're gonna have a boyfriend or blah blah blah, or she's not allowed to date until she's married off, blah 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 blah, and she's 42, her dad said. All of that shit. Continue this like socializing. Then you get to middle school age, you're also interacting with the people of opposite genders, but now everything is more heightened. Like you're going through puberty, it's not like you necessarily, like, I think our society like sexualizes like this age a lot more. So I just feel like the more like I have other thoughts on it. We'll go down that route another video. But yeah, so you're interacting with, say you're a boy and you're interacting with the girls in your class and it's like, oh dude, you need to get your first kiss, or like you need to blah 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 blah, or like you're watching movies and TV shows and it's showing other kids who are in like middle school or high school or whatever, sort of around your age, but it seems like all they talk about with their friends is like all the girls talk about is like getting with boys, or all the boys talk about is getting with girls, or it's like it's showing these like girl crazy teenage boys or like boy crazy teenage girls, and it's making like furthering along the conditioning of this is what you're supposed to want, this is what is normal. So at some point, I think during your development in those years of like the teenage years is when the like sexualization occurs of the other gender. It's when they say like, oh, that's the first time I saw girls and I was like, whoa, before I never cared. And then one day, little Susie down the street, like, she walked up and she was no longer in a training bra and we were like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's always that type of like narrative that's being spun around these things. And then from there you just learn like, oh, I'm supposed to sexually desire the opposite gender. And I think our brains, to compensate for that, start to actually develop a physiological response, meaning it's just like reacting in this way to like the visual stimuli of the opposite gender. So that's the equivalent of, I don't know, being a high school girl at like a baseball game with your friends or a football game with your friends, and like you see the main quarterback or like the pitcher or something like that, and like his pants are more fitted and you're like, oh my god, look at his butt. Or like one of the guys are watching the cheerleaders and like her skirt flips up a little bit and you're like, whoa. Like those are those types of reactions, right? So then you become a young adult. You maybe go to college, or you're just in that age range, and then you become like a regular adult, and it just continues. You also start to recognize that, like, subconsciously, there's a hierarchy in society, and in the society that you're in, for the most part, the people in positions of power are usually in a heterosexual couple, and there's a lot of stigma around being queer in any shape, way, or form. And then I think subconsciously, like, people want to maintain like a status quo or a position of power so that they can, just not feel like the bottom of the barrel of society. And I think if you don't have like an internal desire that's like strong enough to like, jump over these hoops of like, I don't actually care what society deems as like what I should be doing, like I want to do what I want to do for me, then I think you just grow up and stay in that box that they've created for you. And I just think at this point, I'm realizing that a lot of these like heterosexual like couples that I see or I know or I interact with, I'm just like, realistically, I'm sorry, I don't think any of y'all actually are like in love with each other or like happy to be with each other necessarily. It's just like, and I work like a job where it's like people facing, so it's like I see a lot of these couples, like I see it on social media, like, obviously I know heterosexual people in real life, but it's just giving like your brain has been trained to be like, oh, as a woman I want like to be with a man, or like as a man I want to be with a woman. But like, if you actually dug deeper, you probably would have just like I think everybody would just be like pan and would just like naturally gravitate towards like someone and like just have a connection and then be with that person, if we weren't in a society that kind of forced you to be like, that connection you make with someone needs to be with like the opposite gender. And then it's like when you add in other factors like say Project 25 that like is now for like you were seeing a rise in conservatism, because of one, hardships. I think people then start to lean on like religion and are like, oh my god, this like I'm going through these bad things because like I'm not following what God wants, and so I need to like deviate to that. Or just because like in our society right now they're like heavily prosecuting people who are queer for being queer to sort of like push people back into that box, because it's like when there's no queerness doesn't allow for the same, and I say this in almost every video, but queerness doesn't allow for the same levels of oppression when like you're deviating from the social norm. And then it's like I'm also seeing so many TikToks about like the DL men escapades of like the different like ethnicities and nationalities and stuff like that. Like I saw like Indian DL men, I saw the ones about Mexican DL men, white DL men, like, and it's really just showing like everyone is on the queer spectrum. You just don't want to like deal with the repercussions of society, or maybe you live in a country where it's still illegal, yada yada yada. I get that, but it's like you just follow the norm, and then you're like, okay, well, I'm following what like I'm supposed to, like I'm getting the I'm marrying this person, and then like I do what I want on the side, or like you just follow it expecting it to like pan out into like I have the happy perfect life, like see, I have the husband, and then we're gonna have the kids and the house and the dog, and everything's gonna be perfect and I'm gonna be happy. And then you get it excuse me, you get it, and then you're miserable, and you're like, oh, I actually don't get why I'm not happy with what I'm supposed to be happy with. And then before you know it, you're like, too drunk on mommy's special juice to go pick up the kids after soccer practice. And you're like, when did I start getting drunk at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon? Well, you followed a pipeline to a miserable existence. No offense. And like I get that it's hard to deviate from what society wants. I don't know. I can't really talk on that because like obviously like if we want to talk about hard, like I'm literally a black trans man like living in a conservative state. Like there, like you know what I'm saying? I went against the grain because like I needed to for my own mental health. Like it was more important to me to do this than to like follow that, because I was just gonna end up in me like probably jumping off a cliff. Not gonna lie. I just feel like I get that it's hard, I get that it's difficult, but I think we really as a society need to start unpacking these things, like figuring out why you do certain things. Because I just feel like everyone will be like, oh no, I just haven't found the right man because this is what I'm looking for in a man, which like valid, like okay, valid. There are like certain like qualities or whatever that you might want in a partner, but I also think that's part of the conditioning as well. from young you're told that like if you're this type of woman, then like you'll get this type of man, and vice versa. If you're this type of man, you'll get this type of woman. But it's also a little bit different with men, because like they can kind of get away with like anything and they'll still find somebody, because like women are like, you know, conditioned by the patriarchy and the traumas of all of that to always just accept the shit that men throw at them, and then excuse it and be like, oh well, it's just because he's having a hard time. But anyway, that's another video. Moral of the story is, you know, the people who are going to be watching this and be mad at me and be like, no, like, trust me, I like this, like, I like, you know, I like men as a woman. I like men, and I like, you know, their genitalia and what they come with, and I don't want anything other than that. Okay, but would it, if you're so confident in it, right? If you're so confident in it, would it hurt you to try to unpack what I'm talking about here? Just go through the why, not like, oh well, because I just want a provider, and I just want, because those are all conditionings. Those are all things that we were told that this gender is supposed to provide for us in this society. So if you really dial back all of the things that you want in that opposite gender, you see what I'm getting at here? Or like the men who are going to be raving and ranting in my comments of like, no, I like women because I like boobs and I like, you know, genitalia and stuff like that. It's conditioning. You trained your body to have this response to the stimuli of that, because women who don't have those like attributes that you like, you won't form a connection with them. And I'm sorry, to like the other gender, or like to actually like a person, it can't just be based off of like, oh, you made my body react physically and now I'm interested in getting to know you. I think true connection is like you were able to form an emotional connection, feels that emotional safety, like stability with them, and then that connection led to, now because we have an emotional connection, I have a physiological response to your body, or like my body physically reacts to you in this way because we have this connection. But having the like, you know, you can have like strings of like long-term hookups, short-term hookups, or whatever, and never have an emotional connection with someone, that doesn't convince me that you actually like that gender. You trained your body to do that. And like I said, I'm saying the same shit in every video, guys. Like realistically, I will keep shoving this down y'all's throats until everyone starts doing that work. At least unpack it and then get back to me. If you're like, actually no, I still, you know, blah 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 blah, I still actually, as a man, I still like women. Okay, great. If you did that work and you unpacked, that's one less man that is like projecting that he likes women and is actually just treating women like shit because he doesn't actually have emotional connections with these women. Great, I'm happy for you. If you unpack it and you realize, wait, yeah, as a man, actually, I do only like women because I was like told that like a good woman is gonna like be subservient to me. She's going to be submissive to me. She's going to allow, like, stroke my ego in that way. She's going to, you know, have sex with me whenever I want and cook for me and clean for me, take care of all my kids, and I don't have to mentally think in order to like be a present adult in this household. And that's the only reason why I like women. You're realizing, okay, great, maybe I don't like women. All right, awesome. Let that woman go. Co-parent with your kids and go be with who you actually are able to have a connection with. I'm not saying everybody is gay. I'm just saying like forcing yourself to like do this forced heterosexuality, whether it's because you're like, I don't want the repercussions from my family, or I don't want the repercussions from society, or even just the idea of like, you know, really having to explore that and see what that looks like just feels like too much work. Like, just know you're committing to a lifetime of being miserable. You're not going to be as happy as you could be. I'm not saying you're going to be like, you know, I want to jump off a cliff miserable, but like, you're not going to achieve the happiness you could actually experience in this lifetime. And I feel like if you really only get one chance to do this specific lifetime, why waste it doing what some white man said that we had to do just so that he could stay in power, and that his son and his son's son and his son's son can stay at the top of the pyramid? We're all miserable living in the existence they created, so why would you want to like follow in those footsteps and do the same thing that they're doing? Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. With that all being said, argue with your brain before you come argue with me, and let me know what you think, if this sparked any thoughts for you. And just, you know, hop in my comments and let me hear what y'all gotta say. But that all being said, I will see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching.